Welcome back to the channel. Apologies for the delay in time here tonight, but we are here. Calvin's joined us tonight for the podcast. They look back at the weekend's results. Arsenal hit West Ham for 6, Liverpool and Man City. Easy ones in the end. Spurs left it lit. United are back in the top 4 race. And we'll also look ahead to the Champions League return. Man City currently in action, 1-1 as we approach half-time. Calvin, great to have you with us.
Cheers, lad. I finally got on there after a bit of a delay, but sure we're here now.
That's it. Only one place to start, Cal. Has to be Arsenal. I mean, hitting West Ham for 6. It was a fantastic victory for them at the weekend. I mean, going into the game, everyone sort of thought, bit Liverpool, a lot of talk. It could be a tricky game for them. But, I mean, very impressive result. What was your thoughts going into the game for Arsenal and coming out with such a significant one, won by 6 goals?
Well, I've said on your podcast, in the comments, like last week, I thought it'd be 2-1. Everyone thought that it would be a tight game. Like, it'll be near enough just as important to go and beat West Ham as it was to beat Liverpool, because Arsenal, last season, they kind of slipped up in them games away to West Ham, for example. So I mean, I know beating Liverpool is as good as it gets, really, apart from Man City. But I think in terms of Arsenal, getting that kind of belief that they can go and beat the likes of Arsenal or the likes of West Ham is just as important. See away there, I think it is. He's gone.
I lost you here completely there. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, you were froze there, love. No, I was just saying, I think it was just as important, to kind of beat the likes of West Ham as it is to beat Liverpool. No, I know Liverpool's a far better team, but just in terms of getting that consistency with the rest of the teams across the league, I think it's just as important to go and beat West Ham away, and especially 1-6-0. No one would have predicted that. Like, I know you can never really predict a 6 or 7-0 scoreline, but the fact it was so easy, no one was predicting that. So I know as just as big a statement to go and beat them 6-0 as it was to beat us at home.
I'll tell you what, between your power and my Wi-Fi, the football and gods that want this podcast taking place tonight. But I mean, it was a bit of it was kind of a bit of a statement beating Liverpool, but they followed up. West Ham away, as you say, it can always be a tricky game. You know what West Ham are going to do? They're going to put 11 men behind the ball and make it difficult. I mean, which do you think is the more impressive result? Going to beating Liverpool at home, which I know they've only lost 1 game before that all season in the league. But I mean, that was one of the shock results of the season. Not so much the Arsenal winning there, but going there and winning, it was 6-0 after 60 minutes. Or do you put that down to maybe as have the West Ham players lost heart in David Moyes? Do you think them negative tactics we've seen since they actually beat Arsenal, they've been on a really bad run, the fans aren't happy? Do you think is that coming to a point now where it's probably run its course?
I mean, potentially, but I think I know Arsenal fans will probably argue beating Liverpool at home's like probably way more significant than beating West Ham away. But I think it was the manner and the way they beat West Ham is just as significant as beating Liverpool at home. I mean, there's some quality goals in there. I know you're saying the West Ham players could give up or whatever. They probably have given up, but Arsenal were good. I mean, I've said Arsenal probably won't be in this title race, but at the minute they're still there. They're kicking and they're on there at the minute. Like, but I mean, it was a massive one. Like, and I think they'll have more belief from that one than just as much belief going after that one as beating Liverpool at home.
Yeah, as you say too, the pressure was on because our Liverpool and Man City had won the day before, so again it was just a one. They had to win to stay in there. As you say, a lot of quality goals. But I mean, you have wrote them off in the title race. Interestingly, just coming up to half time here, Man City have scored, so it's now 2-1. right before half time. Bernardo Silva's been at 2-1. So we'll keep you up to date if anything changes there. But, you know, you've sort of wrote Arsenal off a wee bit, saying you think Liverpool are probably the only team that can put up the Man City. But I mean, have them last two performances and results changed your mind? Do you sort of see it now as, do you know what, Arsenal are a big threat?
I don't want to flop because it's easy to say I know off the back of that there, but I'm gonna still say it'll be Man City Liverpool. Going on the April, no, end of March, April. I will say it'll be Man City Liverpool, but I mean any Arsenal fan that's even half as delusional as Stefan would turn around and say they're definitely still on it now. And so no, hey, the one thing that they give credit for is their defense. Their defense is very good. The defense will keep them as there as long as possible because we all know the attack has been great this year. Obviously, the 6-0 changes that now, but hey, their defense will probably keep them in good stead as well in Europe as well.
I mean, do you think they've learned lessons from last year where they were blowing teams away from like August to Christmas? Then there was that winter break or the World Cup break. They come back, done okay. But Kenneth from February, they was relying on a lot of last minute goals. And even going on the March, I think everybody was thinking, do you know what? There's a good chance they could fall off. A lot of tight games could have went either way. And in the end, when they came to Anfield, probably played their best 45 minutes they played for a long time. And could have been on their site. Liverpool kind of really dominated the second half, and they never really recovered from that. Went to West Ham, where they went at the weekend, they won 6. They were 2 up very early, couldn't hold on, missed a penalty, draw 2-2, then 3-3 by Southampton, who finished bottom of the league. Defeats they Brighton, defeats they Forest, that all really fell off. Do you think that they've sort of built themselves up where they've maybe not played their best football in the first half of the season? Now they're like them last two performances. Arsenal and Liverpool have been playing really well, but over the last couple of weeks, maybe haven't been at their best. Obviously, injuries maybe have played a part in that. Man City are notorious for hitting their best around this season. Do you think Arsenal have learned that from last season, that now this is where you want to be playing your best football in the business end?
Of course. I mean, it all comes down to experience. They have a year of experience of going in the title race now, and I think as they all said last year, somewhere to Liverpool this year is no one put Arsenal up there. I think they probably surprised themselves last year, so they were thinking, "We'll just keep playing our football. We're playing electric football. We'll just keep going and see how far it takes us." But I think with the summer signings that they had, with Rice and I know Timber hasn't played and all the rest of them, I think they've kind of gone on to the season now with that title aspiration, whereas last summer they didn't. So I think they've kind of played their football kind of around that kind of expectation rather than just going out and seeing what happens.
2-1 to Man City at half time there. I mean, they've been totally dominant, bar that one mishap at the back. So I think if they continue that, this first leg could be all wrapped up tonight, and they could possibly put out a second string against Copenhagen in the second leg, although second string will still be a really, really strong side. That's the bonus Man City have at the moment. I mean, do you think Liverpool and like a lot of the talk from the media, from the pundits, from fans in general, because they've won the league in recent years. I mean, could this suit Arsenal in a way where everyone's sort of focused on Man City, Liverpool, and they can maybe emerge out of the pack? Because as you say, they've got the best defense in the league, not just proven by the least goals conceded, by the actual XG against them. Rock solid. I think it's 2 shots on target against them in the last 2 games against Liverpool and West Ham, which is quite impressive. And the goals that people says they didn't have really come out of the pack in the last few weeks. 5 against Palace, 6 against West Ham, 3 against Liverpool. I mean, should Liverpool and Man City be worried about Arsenal?
I was actually watching, do you know what Gary Neville podcast? No, he does after the Super Sunday on YouTube, and he was talking about that there. He was talking about that there, and he was saying, you know, Arsenal kind of 2 or 3 points behind. He's all good. Just if you're Arsenal, just stay there and be chasing. I know obviously in theory you want to be first, but he's all just in terms of the pressure. Just sit 2 or 3 behind, and the media is looking at you. They're looking at Man City. They're looking at Liverpool, and just kind of play your game. get the 3 points every week, and then see where you are come at end April in. And I think that's the best way that they play for them, because I don't think they suit having the pressure on them. I think they've shown that so far, or last season, that when the pressure's on, they have crumbled. Like, but I think that I think a wee bit the Liverpool as well. They being chasing. I think chasing suits Liverpool and suits Arsenal, whereas Man City doesn't really matter for them. They'll just win every week.
Well, that's it. But the only thing you don't want to be doing is chasing Man City, because with an end they make a mistake, as you find out, Callum, sometimes it never comes. Let's talk about those two teams, because they both had comfortable wins over the weekend. Man City kicked off the weekend's football. We had 2-0 win against Everton. I mean, for a fleeting moment, I was starting to think Man City were running out of ideas against Everton, maybe a wee bit naively, but they played 65 minutes or so. And there wasn't that many chances. Like, they had a lot of the ball, but Everton were really comfortable. And in the end, 70th minute, it comes from a set piece. You could say it was maybe lucky how it fell to Hallam, but I mean, what a finish. They had it with a power on his weak foot. The power beats Pickford in the end. Was there any part of you thought that, do you know what, Everton might be able to hold on here, or did you always sense that Man City would produce at least one moment of quality?
Maybe I'm delusional, but I was sitting thinking this year's going to be a 0-0 here.
Because it wasn't like they were battering them with loads of chances. It was a
No,
lot of
no,
possession, but not a lot of
was,
clear cut chances.
It was just like all the ball, but they weren't really testing Pickford. So I was just thinking, I was actually raging the way it fell to them. Don't get me wrong, great finishes, you said, but you just need that bit of luck too. And they got it. They kind of now obviously opens the space up for a second, but I know for 10 minutes I was thinking it's good to be a 0-0 here, and we'll drop 2 points, but not to be.
Martin's a wee bit worried about Arsenal. The fact that they're won't have as many games as City and Liverpool. But you never know, if Arsenal get to the Champions League latter stages, that'll stretch them too. But he did point to a few injuries. Arsenal with a few injuries as well. So at the minute, between the three teams, Man City are definitely the best stacked squad boys in terms of who they have available. In terms of, I think Grealish went off injured tonight, but he hasn't been playing much, or not. I think Stones maybe, but he's on his way back. So they've got everyone. Liverpool seem to have a few. Arsenal seem to have a few, as Stefan keeps telling us. But I mean, we sat on a podcast, Callum, I think maybe before Christmas, maybe in November, December time, and we were wondering how many points it might take to win this league. Maybe naively again, we underestimated Liverpool, Man City, and maybe even Arsenal. That we thought maybe 85, 86, 87 might be enough. But over the last few weeks, since really Christmas, and into this New Year period, those teams at the top have really found consistency. I mean, do you think it's reverting to the type, basically how it was maybe 2-3 years ago, when this second half of the season, a draw feels like a defeat, and you're going to need possibly 91, 92 points to win it?
100%. That's Arsenal will get that feeling now this year. We've had it on 2 occasions where we lost out in the last day. It's as Carragher said at the time, literally you have to win every game. A draw just isn't good enough for Man City. I mean, as you said in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, they could draw at Anfield and go win the 14 and they won the league. Do you know what I mean? That's just that is just a standard that it's at now. There's no getting away from it. So I think it'll be minimum 90. You're talking 90 points minimum. They won this league. Honestly, Man City they thrive off it too. No one, when they know they have to win every week, they step up. That's what they do, and they've always done it. So, I mean, the fact that they have 2 teams chasing them this time, it's probably could be even mid-90s, to be honest. They might win every game.
Owen saying watching City, a goal is coming. It's very tough to stomach as a Liverpool fan. But you know what? That proves that you have to be the best, and sometimes that can be. We know Liverpool, even though they lost out in them games in the last day, their form was sensational. And those run-ins, Arsenal last year, if anything, it got to them, the fact that City were winning every single week. And I think Paul Merson alluded to this, that the fixture scheduling can be quite important. Arsenal were playing second a lot last year, and it just got so much from that City were winning every week, and it really deflated them. We know with Liverpool, under Klopp, that hasn't been an issue. Even when City have went and won on a Saturday, they've been able to follow it up on a Sunday, and they've been able to take it to the last day, even when it ended in heartbreak. I mean, when you look at it, Liverpool and Man City still have to play each other, and Man City and Arsenal have to play each other, and they're coming up quite soon. And by the Easter weekend, it'll be down to April and May then, and obviously they will have all played each other twice. I mean, Callum, how do you think the teams will see it? Would you rather be in Liverpool and Arsenal's position where you only have to play one of the teams? Or do you think Man City will look at it as a big opportunity that they play both teams? And if they were to win both games, it would deliver knockout blows, not just the points, but psychologically, that if they're beating Liverpool and if they're beating Arsenal, realistically, who else is going to stop them? So how do you think teams will be seeing it? From before we sort of get into it, from your perspective, would you rather be in Liverpool's position with a home game against Man City and not playing Arsenal again? Or would you rather be in Man City's perspective where we can play both teams and take points off both?
Nah, I mean, if you ask Pepe, I'd say I don't want to play either of them. I mean, it takes so much, mentally and physically. They play them games. The players know how big them games are, how it drains you. Like, them 90 minutes, especially away from home. Man City know it as good as anyone. That game in 3 weeks' time, that's going to be, no matter how many injuries we have, that or how many they have, that's going to be a tough game. Anfield's going to be up for it, and they don't have a good record. Anfield, they only beat us once during that COVID season. There's no fans in there, so, and we had no centre half. So, but I mean, that is going to be a really, and then they have to. Well, I think home to Arsenal, they'll be not happy enough, but they have a good record against Arsenal. They beat them twice last year, easy. I know the Arsenal fans would say they're a different side now, but I think they'll fancy themselves at Arsenal home, and then they'll be more worried about coming to Anfield. I know I tell you for a fact, like, but no, I'd rather be. I mean, you're laughing, but it's like Anfield's a tough stadium. Like, honestly, no. I mean, I'd rather have a home game at City than having to play away at Anfield and home to Arsenal. No chance.
Martin saying roll on March. Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, massive month, and I suppose that Man City Arsenal game will be the first weekend after the international break, and you just don't know what you don't know what kind of situation the teams will be in. We've seen with Man City.
No, it's always a slow game too after the international break.
We've seen Man City Liverpool play each other this season after the international break, and it was an early kickoff. Maybe add a little bit, but sometimes you get funny results. Maybe that'll favour Arsenal because Man City are probably the favourites for that game. But suppose between now and then, it does give Arsenal a wee bit of an incentive because Man City and Liverpool, if they play each other before the international break, that at least one of them's dropping points, or it could be a draw. And for example, if it is a draw, they could draw themselves level with Liverpool on point. And basically, the goal difference has been wiped out now after the weekend. They're only one goal behind. And if they get to them last 8 or 9 games, I suppose, I know the first game's away to Man City, but they'll have a feeling that if you're level with 8 or 9 games to go, you're very much on the race, aren't you?
100%. But I think they'll be looking at it and going, I hope Liverpool with Man City. And the same way we'll be looking at it going, I hope Arsenal beat Man City. Man City's a team to beat. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, I know it's kind of a funny dynamic because Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans are both saying they're in the title race, which is fair enough. But both of them would rather.
Both are kind of dismissing the other, aren't they? They're both kind of
dismissing the other. I would suppose but I think in terms of they would both rather Man City lose than the other one lose. Do you know what I mean? They would rather get Man City away than a draw or something. Do you know what I mean? So, no, I mean, 8 or 9 games to go. If we say we draw at home, they Man City, and then they get a 1 away to Man City, they'll think they'll win the league. Do you know what
I mean? Definitely, it's interesting. So many big games coming up, and I suppose a big boost for Liverpool is Salah's back in training. Usually when a player's back in training, they're going to be ready for the next game, and the fact that he's trained so early this week would suggest he'll be in the squad at least for the Brentford game, whether he starts or not. But I mean, psychologically, again, that'll give everyone a boost because your main man's back in the team. We've seen since De Bruyne and Haaland's come back from Man City what they're like. Everyone around them's improved. You think that having Salah, even if he doesn't come back and scores, even having him back, I've seen it with Spurs on Saturday. I know they've scored some like goals this year, but the fact Son come on, it lifted the whole atmosphere. The game was kind of at that point, it was topsy-turvy. Son coming on, the fans, the players, just more belief. He's Spurs' main man and Salah's Liverpool's main man. You think that'll give everyone a boost?
I think they'll be thinking now, look, we've got through January and we've won pretty much every game apart from like Arsenal and February now. That was the big question you asked at the start of January. Can Liverpool get through it? Can the main men step up behind them? Jota stepped up. They all scored goals. So they've won pretty much every game apart from the draw away to Fulham and the Arsenal one. So they'll be
I
going at
think
it.
Klopp would have settled for that. Even though
Oh,
losing to
100%.
Arsenal was a blow, but winning the rest of them, you were always going to keep that gap over Arsenal.
Exactly. And then they're looking at it now going, Salah's back. We're 2 points behind Man City, assuming they won their game in hand. Well, they're all going to be thinking, Man City thinking we have a chance, Liverpool thinks they have a chance, and Arsenal thinks they have a chance. Do you know what I mean? They're all going to be in for it now. So.
Between three teams, like even the goal difference, City and Arsenal's
Yeah,
plus 31, Liverpool's plus 32. There's
I
nothing
think
on this at all.
I think injuries are decided because it's way for fun. I mean, Trent is not fit, Salazar is not fit. There's word that they might not make the final. So, I mean, Man City have a fully fit squad apart from Grealish went off tonight. He doesn't even play football anyway. So I mean, Arsenal a few injuries. So I think injuries are decided because if they're all fit, then three teams they'll win probably most weeks.
How are you feeling ahead of it? Because obviously you've got some big games yourself coming up. You're going to the cup final. You're going to Man City at home. I know you're going to a couple of Ireland in a season, but them two in particular now, it's kind of in this run. I mean, obviously it's great to be in the cup final and it's great to have that day out. And Liverpool are heavy favourites; they won it. But I mean, I wouldn't say it's an inconvenience, but for everyone, is probably we would rather won the Man City game, wouldn't they? It's a funny one.
Aye, of course, but I think too, if they won that trophy, it's a good lift for them as well. Thinking we've had injuries, we've had Salah out, and we've won near enough every game whilst he's been away, and we've ended it up now with a trophy at the end of February, and then they'll be thinking 2 weeks later, we play City at home, let's go for it.
I think as well that I know he's aren't the most he's don't give the Premier League much credit, but they've done he's a massive favour. You'll probably point that he hadn't many options where they put the game, but the fact you're playing Luton before that weekend, I think as well, if you obviously it's Luton at home, but you don't really want to be playing games in hand. You want to get the points on the board, and the fact that game is played, but you're not going to be having to play in April and say you're 5 behind with a game in hand or 3 behind game in hand. You want the points on the board, and again, that seems to have worked out in your favour.
Of course, as you always say, everyone says it, all the pundits say, you need a bit of luck on the title race. It's fair I know the best team wins, but you have to have a bit of luck with injuries, the way the fixtures fall, what time you kick off, mentally if you won the game before someone else. I mean, they all play factors in it. Like the players are human at the end of the day.
Obviously, Chelsea would have been playing that weekend, and they were actually going to play Spurs. And that game hasn't been rescheduled yet, and you know what's going to be happening there. They're going to keep that back for the end of the season because they know what a Chelsea and Spurs game is like. Imagine if there's someone on the line with the way it be. Sky Sports, obviously, we're hoping they broadcast that on a Friday night, so they have the rights to that. So it's not as easy to schedule. They have to agree to it. I'd probably be April or possibly even May. I could see that being.
I think with both teams, like not in Europe, it's easy to get it on somewhere. Like.
Well, that's it. So why is it not being scheduled? And that's what I think they're keeping this back. They want this back. Say Spurs is 2 points behind Villa or United, and they have to play that game on a Wednesday before the last game of the season on a Sunday or something. That's what they want. They build it up.
I think too, because the Luton game, we're on every competition and we're favourites to go for it in the FA Cup. So, and it wasn't on TV either. It was a Saturday 3 o'clock. So I think it was just easier to get that one out of the way. But of course, I think it all favours. If you get it in, I'd rather have the points on the board instead of playing Luton and then Wednesday night in April, you have to win.
Martin's asking a question here. We 8-10 games left in the running. Would have been an advantage or disadvantage to play on half 12? Well, we're not quite down to 8 or 10 games yet, but I suppose we'll make this relevant to the question because Liverpool's actually kicking off at 12:30 this weekend, and we're down to about 14 games. So, I mean, Callum, how do you see it this weekend? I mean, I know what I would say, but do you think playing at 12:30 this weekend will be an advantage because it allows you to win and put the pressure on the rest of the teams?
Of course, on the back end, I know Man City and Arsenal are playing each other this weekend, but no, hypothetically, if they were playing on Sunday and you're playing half 12 on a Saturday and you won, you sit back and watch it then, you know what I mean? So, I mean, of course, I know we have a bit of controversy with the half 12s, but in terms of when it comes down to the title race, if I had to pick, I would rather play before them two every week because it just gives you that free mind. You don't have to think, or you don't have to know that they've won. You just go out and play your game, won.
Do you see it as an advantage this weekend playing first, or do you see it as a bit of a disadvantage because we're playing Wednesday night as well as because we've had that game? These play. Sorry, no, you don't play Wednesday. It's the cup final. Sorry, so see for the cup final, you play a Wednesday night where Chelsea have a free week. So how do you see that there?
Well, I suppose it's just the way it's panned out. I don't think it's too much at disadvantage or whatever this week because I mean it's not really a big weekend. It's just you have to win, that's it. But and then the Luton one, I think the Luton one, as you say, fell well because I mean obviously we should won clearly, but could be a bit of a confidence booster. Just a bit of rhythm too before the final. So I think it's handy enough at the minute the way it's fell for us.
I'll be enough then. Let's talk about the big game that everyone was probably looking forward to the weekend. Villa taking on United. All the talk about United. Couldn't win away from home against a top team. And I says on Thursday night, if they don't win this game, this will be their best chance to end it. And I did predict a 2-1-1 for United. Maybe they didn't deserve to win, but I thought a draw possibly would have been fair. But I don't know, Villa just curled up a wee bit in the last 50. Once they got that equaliser, I was expecting to kick on. Never really happened. Emery took off Bailey, who I thought was a massive threat, and he brought Tielemans on. They shored up. Suppose he probably looked at it and thought, you know what, a draw keeps United at distance. And I think a lot of these teams are taking this fifth place for granted because I heard them talking on Sky about a 77% chance. I mean, that is a high chance, but it's not guaranteed. We've seen shocks in football before. I mean, before we get into the game, do you think that's a risky game for teams to be banking on that fifth spot to get you in?
Of course, unless it's 100% guaranteed it's a risk. I mean, 77% is not 100. It's as simple as that. So, of course, you have to play every game as if it's 4 for nothing. There's no point banking on it, as you say. It's as simple as that. It's not. It's just not guaranteed. There's no point. You have to just play it.
It relies on, I think it relies on the free competitions, all teams going far in it, and the way Villa are going at the minute, you wouldn't be confident in saying they're going to go far in that conference. I know they're one of the better teams on it. Liverpool are probably the obvious one. But, Man City could draw Arsenal in the next round of the Champions League if they both get through and one goes out, and then all of a sudden Man City can play Real Madrid and get put out. You just don't know. Or Arsenal could play, so it's a big. For me, I'd be looking at the fourth spot. Do you think that's what Comandi's head on? Why would he have took Bailey off? He was threatening. They bring on a midfielder to be a bit more cautious, or was it maybe the fact that they had that bad defeat? He was just trying to stop the rot. I don't know.
If I had a guess, I would say I think he just wanted to get some sort of result because they got a bit bad the last 2 weeks at home with Chelsea and Newcastle. I think he just wanted some sort of result, and I think he probably thought too if they get bit by United, that's bad because they don't want away from home against top teams. And I suppose you can argue as Villa a top team, but that's not the point. I think he just got it wrong playing a sample. He took Bailey off because he was.
When they went to 1-1, I could only see one team winning it because they were United looked out of ideas at that stage.
As Gary Neville said in that podcast as well, he saw once again United weren't the better team. They don't play good football. I know they churn out results, but Villa were the better team again, and they just didn't get the result.
They let United off the hook, didn't they?
United never won games, and you go, why they deserve that? They didn't deserve the one against West Ham either. I know that United fans will say they don't care, but it matters in the long term, like being the better team.
So in the end, it's a big result for United because it puts them back into the Champions League equation, where that's for fourth spot or fifth spot, 6 points behind fourth, fifth, or 5 points behind fifth, if that was good enough to get you in. And, I heard Roy Keane in the studio saying Spurs will be worried as well. Neville made a comment that I think he says the Spurs fans will be disappointed. I was happy United won. I don't really see United as I've seen Villa as more of a threat, but maybe I'll eat my words. But I heard Paul Scholes say that he fancies United to finish above Villa and Spurs. How do you see that risk? I know United by name are the bigger of the three teams, but based on what you've seen, where's the evidence to suggest they're going to finish above Spurs and Villa? And this resurgence that everyone's talking about, they've only won three games in a row. Like it's not as if marching band come out. They haven't been convincing, as you say. West Ham, they won 3-0, but I think West Ham missed a lot of chances. That game they were very lucky they won it. Possibly maybe good enough for a draw. How do you see this top four battle at the moment?
It's the same formula every year for top four. It was the same last year where it was Newcastle, United, and Liverpool. Whoever's fighting for top four, them 2 or 3 teams, they're always inconsistent. That's the reason they're fourth. Because if you're consistent, you'd be second and third and first. That's the reason they're fourth, because they're not consistent enough. you can make an argument for all three teams: Spurs, Villa, and Man United, that they're not consistent enough. As you said, you sent on that, we were chatting the other day about you have the most goals or most points won and most points lost lit on. I mean, that's
And out
not
of time.
exactly, so that's not a stat you want. I mean, you want the one where you won lit on, but I mean, there's no evidence to suggest from many freebies that you're going to go on a 5, 6, 7 game run. You're going to lose week and you're going to win week. So every one of them, it's like a title race, but like for top four, every team will say we have a chance of fourth because the other two teams, they don't win every week.
How are you worried should Spurs and Villa be about United in your opinion? I mean, as you say, they don't have to play well. They won games. If they keep getting on, getting under this knack of winning games, and the fact that, as you say, Villa seem to have stuttered. Spurs, you don't know one week on the injury time if they're going to win or lose a game. United at the moment are probably the more consistent results-wise in terms of winning games. I know Spurs have only lost one game out of their last 9 or something like that, but there's been a few draws on there. At the minute, at least points-wise, United are the more consistent of the three. I mean, do you think them teams will be panicking about United?
Well, I think too, Man United don't draw games, so they either win or they lose, and it's as simple as that. So I mean, so in that sense, it's nearly good because you would rather win the games than there's just constantly if you rather win than draw 3 or 4 in a row.
What do you mean? If you do it in blocks of 3 and you won one game and 2 draws, you're better off 1 and 2 and losing one because you get 6 points as opposed to 5.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. So, and then Spurs, Man United will be looking heavily now at that home form of Villa. That's just fell off a cliff. That's what kept them up. That top four, they was it 14, 15 ones in a row at home. So I mean, once they're
the only problem United have here is they play both teams twice, so they are relying on others, and that sometimes can be a bit of a hindrance. I know Villa have to play Spurs the same weekend that Liverpool play Man City, so that's going to be a bumper Super Sunday. But other than that, that's the only place they can guarantee that they're going to, both teams aren't going to win a game, or they've lost that. Now they took 6 points off Villa, but they only got 1 against Spurs. So really, their fit lies in the hands of others. And whilst they are 5 behind Villa and 6 behind Spurs, their goal difference is about 17 or 18 goals behind. So that's effectively a point.
They're level. They're on 0.
So that's effectively a point. And I mean, Spurs are, as you say, are 6 ahead of United, plus that goal difference. So Spurs would have to lose. You'd have to think at least 45 games. Unless United won every game, they could possibly get away with losing. If Spurs lost 3.
To be fair though, but
Spurs lost 5 all season.
Spurs
and 4 of them came in that run. So,
but Spurs could lose 4 because they're so up and down. You know what I mean? You don't know if you're going to.
And do you think they'll be looking more at Villa and hoping there's a 5th spot, because the wheels do seem to have fallen off Villa? Like, alarmingly, the home form has just completely evaporated, and they've lost 3. And as you say, the first 2 were against bang out of form teams. If you had been picking 2 teams to play in the top half of the table at home, it probably would have been Newcastle and Chelsea, and they lost them both. And they were quite convincing defeats. The United one was a bit different. And they've got the European football starting back in March as well. That's going to be in there, sandwiched in between games. They lost Kamara, the ACL. He won't play again this season. Watkins' form seems to have deserted him. So it's worrying for Villa at the moment.
I would say Man United are looking more at Spurs. I think Man United will finish with Villa now, because as you say, the injury. I think Europe's the big decider. You don't play Europe, so I think they'll definitely finish with Villa. I'll be shocked if they don't. I mean, I don't even know if Villa will go far in the league or far in the. I don't even know, but I mean, if I'm a Man United fan, I'm thinking we definitely finish above Villa here, and then whether or not they go one further and beat Spurs, I don't know, but I just can't see where Villa get that run of form again. Now with Europe winning and the injuries, they've Collins out, they've Kamara out, Paul Watkins a bit out of form. I just don't see it with them now.
Martin's saying if they go far in Europe too, it could really impact them in the league, and James believes Spurs will be too strong for both. I mean, Spurs will earmark that game against Villa now. Is up where that looked at a month ago, going to Villa looked very difficult. Now it looks winnable. If you've got some favourable games, we'll actually speak about Spurs, because I Anne said during the week, they asked him about all these late goals, and he says, "Hey, don't worry, mate. There's going to be plenty of Spurs late goals as well. It's just the way we play." And wouldn't you know, it's Spurs' turn to score a late goal. I mean, me and you have slightly different opinions on Spurs this season. I'm sort of seeing it as a bit of a transitional year, but they've done quite well to be where they are. You know, no one really thought Spurs would be in a top four battle. Never mind, they've
Oh,
probably
really?
sitting on fourth. But as you say, a lot of these games could be going either way. So in terms of consistency, for if they were to get fourth this year, how do they improve on that? Because if you're having them kind of games, that's probably your limit. So that's something that will have to be fixed. But I mean, it's great entertainment, isn't it, Callum? That's what the fans wanted. Well, how long that lasts will be the big question. And in the long term, will the fans get frustrated if they're seeing too much of this? We're sitting here in 2 years' time, and you can't work out if Spurs is going to win a game or lose a game in the last minute. That'll be a problem. But for now, the fans are loving it, and that Spurs stadium, I'm telling you, hey, I just can't wait to get back again, because I know it's gonna be bouncing. There's gonna be as Ange says, you're gonna get great football, and it's gonna turn into a nightclub after.
I mean, that's it. I said to you after the Everton match, Spurs Everton, you're like Liverpool in 17-18, where we had that front four with Coutinho, Salah, Mane, Firmino, and we were scoring for fun. But at the same time, you have Lovren at the back, and you get loose last minute. You know what I mean? So look, it's unreal football. You could win 5-1, you could bid 3-0. Who cares? But it's one of the ones where you have to transition the way Liverpool did, when they're more controlling games, dominating games, instead of letting teams run at you. Do you know what I mean?
Do you see that happening? But do you see him being the man, almost like maybe not have the dominance that Liverpool had, but do you think they'll be on that track? Do you see an Ange, a man that will adapt, and with better players, he'll look to control it more? Surely that's got to be the plan. He's not just here for a couple of seasons. Let's have a roller coaster and then it'll crumble.
I think no, he has that no persona of the media and the wall, just play whatever we play, and will never change, not air crack. But I mean, if you have any sort of sense, you have to start the transition and the more possession based team, like the top three are, where they control games. You can't win trophies playing the football they used to. Well, I know. I mean, we got to the Champions League final, 17-18, playing that type of football, but it's not sustainable. Do you know what I mean? You have to be able to control games and dominate games, and because it takes it out of your players too. No type of basketball.
It strikes me as a very smart man, because if you look at the situation he's come under, he could have sulked like Conte did and renewed that for whenever it was going bad, or when he lost all them players, he could have threw the towel on and says, "You know what? We're going to crumble and fall apart." He stuck with what his beliefs. He brought players in that maybe Spurs fans didn't really see a future with. The likes of Lo Celso, who was doing quite well before he got injured. Basuma has been brought back into the team. Sarr wasn't given much. He was given all these players opportunities. Porro, I think, was called the worst right back that Tom Sherwood ever seen, and he's been doing quite well this year. Doggy was turned on from a left winger to a left back, for example. So he's done a lot of good work. But I mean, surely he will know that this isn't sustainable, and this will need churned, because as much as it is entertaining, football is about results as well.
I mean, as simple as that. I mean, I think, as you say, your fullbacks, the football switches at the minute, they are attacking. Like, no one needs transition onto that. Well, if he's do it, transition on that more possession bits where you have to defend a bit more, will that expose you, Doggy and Porro, maybe? Because whenever Porro had to defend last year, he was shite. As simple as that. Like.
He's even been exposed a few times this year too, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that type of football at the minute suits him. He's great, goes forward and all the rest of it. But will then types of players be exposed whenever you transition and the different style of play? I don't know. But no, look, I mean, as you say, he is smart. He's obviously not stupid, put it that way, but he has to have a plan now to kind of shore up a bit.
Do you think he used all that doom and gloom after Conte, where the football was turgid? Losing Kane was almost like a free pass, because everyone's saying, I think Paul Merson says they'll be lucky to finish 10th. Them kind of comments were being made, not just by him. I know I was about a tongue cheek because of his Chelsea and Arsenal connections. He's only Chelsea fan I know that likes Arsenal as well, but I know he played for him, but he seems to be an Arsenal lover as well. So he's obviously not going to like Spurs very much, and I know he has a bit of tongue in cheek when he said that. But a lot of pundits were saying, they'll be lucky to make that last European spot. That'll be a tough first season. You think that you use all that to galvanise the squad, and the fact that the fans really didn't expect much, him coming from Celtic are a massive club, but it's looked down on by a lot of Irish football fans and English football fans as a bit of a piss poor league, and their managers don't have much success in England, as we've seen with Steven Gerrard, for example. So did he use all that, and he's just completely surprised everybody? In fact, the Spurs fans, rival fans, and it's almost turned into a wonderful season of Spurs was to get fourth place, which they're probably our favourites for. I mean, that will be something that no one really seen in the summer.
100%. I has used that, but I mean, it was kind of on a 1-1. He couldn't really lose, as you say. No lucky to finish 10th, all that type of stuff. Lost Kane, lost all the rest of it. I mean, unless he finished 18th, he couldn't lose, really. It was as simple as that. So, I mean, but it'll soon change now. If you finish 4th, expectation goes back up. Do you know what I mean? And you're back in the Champions League. You want to get on that.
We've seen with Newcastle this season how difficult it can be.
Exactly. So, I mean, it can go very quickly from, I can't wait to get on that Spurs stadium and watch it as rock and roll. They back to Dubangum. Do you know what I mean? That's football. So you have to be careful too. You get top 4 now. You have to have summer and go again and get the players on to be able to go in Europe.
I think he'll have to be massively supported in the summer to plug holes in the gap in terms of quality, and that'll be interesting. But Spurs may not be in the title race, Cal. Some are saying they have an outside chance, but I really don't see it. Even though they are only 7 points behind first, there's 3 teams in between that look very consistent. You'd need all 3 teams to have a dip. I don't really see that happening. If one has a dip, but I don't see 3. But I read an article in the Daily Mail that I actually shared it with you, and they were predicting these match weeks. Now there was an article, so if you check out Daily Mirror, Premier League predictions from the Daily Mail of all the games Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City have. They done Spurs as well. But interestingly, Spurs may have a massive say in this title race because in the final 5 games they play Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool in that order back to back. I think that's the 5th last week.
3 weeks in a row, eh?
3 weeks in a row. They've Man City at home on the 5th last week, Arsenal at home on the 4th last week, and Liverpool away in the 3rd last week. I mean, could they be, we've talked about them games earlier on, but could they be the deciding factor? Because, I mean, they are the 3 standout teams in the league, but you'd probably say Spurs are the more dangerous out of anyone that's going to take points off. They are, in terms of if they turn up and play well, they'll give you a game. I mean, they drew by Man City this year, they drew by Arsenal away, and they beat Liverpool, albeit in controversial circumstances. So they took 5 points off them teams in the opposite games this season. I mean, you might have your Spurs top on for the first 2 games.
I don't know out there. Now we're absolute certainties to bet you after you play M2, you'll be out on your feet. Jesus, after M2 games. Look, hey, Spurs will give anybody a game. It's as simple as that. You will surely, in my opinion, you won't win at Anfield, but surely he's get at least a point somewhere out of one M2. Hopefully it's Man City.
I think depending on where they are in the league, the Arsenal game is going to be the one. They'll not want Arsenal winning it. They'll be pumped up for Arsenal.
No, of course, I think they'll be more obviously pumped up for Arsenal. But I mean,
as you say, you could be the big benefactors. The fact that they will have played City, the Arsenal game will be the massive one, the 1-1, and Liverpool could be a bit of an anticlimax after that.
I think I didn't know that. See, the fact you were playing the M2 before us, I would be distraught now that we got bit there or drop points. I'll bet that game too. So, I mean, I can't not see he's getting some result there out of them 3.
You can't see him losing all 3. Sure,
you're too good not to get a result somewhere. I mean, you're terrible.
In fact, City and Arsenal are both at home as well.
I mean, all Liverpool fans on your record at Anfield would say you're not getting nothing at Anfield. So, I mean, Man City and Arsenal, you have to get a result there, surely, which would be great.
Does that make you more confident now about the league?
No chance. You wouldn't hang your hat in Spurs.
That's true.
Jesus, not a hope.
Obviously, we plan to come on later on, but the Champions League returns, and it's actually underway and all. But James saying this is why we love the Premier League as possible. But we will just speak about the teams, the main players we think may be involved at the better end of this Champions League. City still 2-1 up and cruising here, but as we've seen in the first half, anything can happen. They can make a mistake, but you fancy them to get through this tie over the 2 legs. I mean, it was a dream draw for Man City, to be honest, getting Copenhagen. No one expected Copenhagen to be there, being in a group with United and Bayern Munich. And the fact that this is Copenhagen's first game, competitive game for 63 days. So, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better draw. I mean, are they the team they beat in the Champions League? And I mean, are we silly to rule out that they could win an hour treble?
Oh, of course, 100%. They have favourable draws and all of them, and they'd say they're favourites for the league. I mean, I know even Gary Neville, everyone said there'll be a dip, but at the moment there's no dip. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of set up perfectly for them, as you say. The only team I can see them getting bit by in Europe is Arsenal and Real Madrid have injuries. I mean, I think Arsenal's defence, if they were to play them over 2 legs, they'd give them a serious tie. That would be a really good tie. Like if they were to play them home and away. I just and who they play in the FA Cup.
That's the dream for Liverpool fans. Man City Arsenal semi-final, grueling 2 games against each other.
Well, I suppose, but I suppose that's the first week of May, so the title's done there near enough anyway. So if you're not on it by then, you have no chance. But I don't know. I'd rather Man City play every game. I know they'll say it doesn't really affect them. They just won all of them anyway, but I want them playing every game. Like it's you just can't rule until there's a dip. You can't rule Man City out. It's as simple as that. They're favourites. They won every game they play.
Many trophies do you think they won out of the 3?
Tough one. I've backed us. They won the league, so I'm gonna stick to it. I'm not gonna flip flop, even though Man City are favourites. I'll not flip flop. So I'll say depends who they get in Europe too. They could easily win 2. They could win the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? They could win an FA Cup at a canter, really, like depending on the draws. And then Europe's all about who they draw. And you get a favourable draw. And if they play Arsenal, Real Madrid back to back, and that's tough. Like, but they'd be favourites. They won it then. So I'm gonna go. I'll go 1.
1. Or FA Cup. Do you know what you're ranking? I mean, Arsenal's chances in the Champions League. I mean, I don't think this is the strongest renewal we've had in recent seasons. There's not a lot of strength around Europe. Bayern Munich, we'll speak about them in a minute, but they're not in a good place. Madrid have injuries, and I mean the fact that Girona's keeping pace, keeping the pace up there tells you that. I know it may be disrespectful to rule them out, but a strong Madrid team and only smashed Girona at the weekend, but they would be miles clear of a team like that. Bellingham has been playing well, but we'll come on to him in a minute. But I mean, Arsenal's chances. I mean, Stefan's saying to me, I know he's been singing Arsenal's praises. He still thinks that they've more chance in the Champions League than in the Premier League. He still thinks that they'll win the Premier League. I mean, do you see it? Do you think Arsenal's best route of a trophy between the two is the Champions League?
I don't know. Because Arsenal, they never won the Champions League. They don't have that experience. I mean, they haven't been in the Champions League in a long time.
Do you think it's more likely Arsenal end up with no trophies than it is we won?
I mean, if I was an Arsenal fan and they didn't win a trophy this year, I'd be disappointed because they're good enough. They won one of them. They definitely are. They are good enough. They won one of them. I mean, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm going, our defence is good enough early to keep us in any European tie, even Man City, as I said. I mean, they will give anyone a game in Europe. I know they might not score the goals, but I can't see anyone thrashing them in Europe.
I know these are hard questions to answer because the draw in these Champions Leagues is a dream. I know Man City can't upset it last year when they went and done. They beat Bayern and Madrid back to back. Usually, you even though as a Liverpool fan, some years you can get a free. Would you have Ajax and Roma, or was it one? Or
a couple of years.
Porto in the quarters and Roma in the semis, was it 1 year?
We have Porto and Roma, and it does fall for you too. Like, you need a bit of luck.
Because you look at Inter Milan last year getting the final, I think they played Porto, Benfica, and AC Milan before they played the final against Man City. So I mean, you get a draw like that, but
100%. I mean, no matter who they get, as I said, I don't think they'll get bit easy. So I think the only thing I count to that way is they haven't done it in Europe. They never have. Do you know what I mean? That is a factor. The pressure, if they get the semi-final in the Champions League, that is massive pressure because they would rather win a Champions League than the league title. So I mean, that is just a huge pressure. If they were to get the say Man City in the semi-final, they'd forget about the league even if they were a point behind it, I think.
A team that does know how to win the Champions League is Real Madrid. Obviously, the most records. They hold the record for the most ones. And Bellingham's been making all sorts of news in English media over in Spain this year. Possibly the best Madrid signing in the first season we've seen. Up there with Ronaldo and the like. So I mean, They are obviously still in a tight league in Spain, so they can't completely focus on the Champions League. But if they can start putting distance between themselves and Girona, all of a sudden they're in a great position. They focus on the Champions League. I suppose that's the worry. You don't really see Man City or Arsenal, blowing. You can't just see one team having this wrapped up by the end of April. I think this is at least going to have two teams on it towards May. So I can't see any of the English teams having the luxury of resting players, whereas Madrid might. And they still have the experienced players like your Modric's, your Cruzes on there who've been there and done it. And you seen what Madrid did to Liverpool in the final a few years ago. I mean, they really done a number on them. I know they had conceded a few chances and Courtois had a big game, but in that second half, they shut off Liverpool, who at the time were playing out of their skin. And Liverpool were many favourites in that final, but that whole run, Madrid were wily and experienced, and as you say, something that Arsenal haven't done in Europe. Are they the biggest threat, do you think, to Man City?
In terms of their team, I know I don't watch Madrid every week, but I think Arsenal's far more solid. If I'm a Man City fan, maybe I don't know. I think I'd rather play Madrid. I think you could get at Madrid a bit more. They played them off the park that they had last season, so yeah. I just can't see them doing that to Arsenal this year. I think Arsenal's too tight at the back. So if I was a Man City fan, I'd rather play Real Madrid. But they have the likes of Bellingham, who just seems he can do whatever he wants on a pitch. Do you know what I mean? So he's that type of player. He just has that aura about him. He can produce moments.
Do you think if Man City and Arsenal avoid each other, they'll meet in the final? That's kind of the senses I'm getting from you? You think there could be an all-English final if they avoid each other?
Unless Arsenal bottle it, hey, I think. I mean, of course, it depends on the draw too. It does, but I mean, Real Madrid could beat Arsenal just because of the experience factor. But I mean, I think Real Madrid or Man City and Arsenal are the two best teams in it. I think. I just can't see no Bayern. I know Real Madrid. We're speaking of Real Madrid. Bayern's not there.
I mean, well, everyone was saying at the start of the season like Bayern were the second favourites behind Man City. Obviously, they've had a massive stumbling block the weekend in the league. And it really showed that they're not as great as everyone was expecting them to be. Kane's maybe peppered over a lot of the cracks. I don't think the style of play is great. They don't really move it that well. I think the likes of players like Kimmich, who was seen as one of the best midfielders in Europe, has come back a few pegs. Their midfield isn't great. Goretzka's not. I think a lot of their players have had their best days. Their defense isn't great. Dyer's on there now because of injuries, but even I think a fully fit Bayern defense doesn't convince you. We've seen the mistakes of McCannell last year. And the murmurs from Germany is that all's not well in the camp with Tuchel, and we've seen this before with Tuchel at our clubs. It'd be a big shock now if Bayern would only won it, wouldn't it?
Oh, big time. I would write them off. After that defeat against Leverkusen, I watched the match. The Leverkusen were very good. I know Bayern dominated the ball and they countered, but I mean, no disrespect to Leverkusen. I know we're all piping up Alonso and all the rest of it, but if Leverkusen's beating you, then Arsenal, Man City, Real Madrid, they definitely beat Bayern out of one. Like, so I'll put Bayern maybe 4 favourites after that. I mean, I just can't. I would be really, really shocked.
I think Bayern, any tie run's going to be a struggle the way they're playing at the moment. They rely on Kane to score. Even the 2 legs against Lazio, the fact they're away first tomorrow night, I don't think that's a game they get through. Like, I'm not convinced by them at the moment, so it'll be interesting. How do you see it then? Who's going to win it? Who's going to win the Champions League?
Without seeing a draw, I'll go for a prediction. I'll hang my hat on Man City. I think they're the most reliable. I can't see it.
Martin Ward saying enough talk, lads, about the English and European teams. The mighty Derry City's back in the Brandywell on Friday night. Can they break or duck and win the league this year? I mean, interestingly, I'll be working on this year. Doing a bit of work with Drive 105, interviews, commentary, some games. I think my first commentary is the 4th home game, I believe, against Galway. I think anyway. But I think I've done interviews up the first 3 home games. So you'll probably hear my voice quite a bit. I mean, I've been watching a bit of the pre-season and because I'm trying to get prepared for this. And I think that the fact Hoban's come on give a lot of fans hope. But it's kind of now or never for Derry, isn't it? Because how long can you keep finishing second? Notoriously, when teams finish second, it only goes one way and it's down. This has to be the year for me. They have to deliver this year.
I agree. I think if they don't win the league this year, they'll probably get rid of Probably get rid of Higgins. I agree with that. Congrats as well, getting on there.
I mean, I think, as you say, it's big, but I think if they didn't have a great start, I think Higgins would be under pressure as well. It's one of them ones.
It could be one M1. Say even though they're 7-8 points behind Rovers, I think they could just pull a plug and just go again the season after. Because
I have to be careful what I say because I'm interviewing Higgins on Friday. So,
so there you go. Well, I can say what I want.
All the way for the Champions
League.
Look,
if they don't have a good start, it could get toxic quick because they've had too many seconds, and as you say.
Yeah. We've about 3.5 minutes left as we come up there. So we're going to quickly run through this weekend's games. Get Callum to give us some quick fire predictions. But me and Keelan, Keelan's back on the podcast on Thursday. We'll be going through these games in more detail. So when Callum's here, we'll get him to give us his predictions. All kicks off on Saturday at 12:30. I'll actually be be down south. I'm away for the Saturday, so I'll get a few beers to watch the football this weekend, and I'm going to enjoy it. But Brentford, Liverpool, tricky one, 12:30. Brentford, I only haven't been as good this season, but they got a great one last week, and Tony is scoring goals. Brentford have been letting a few in, has been a worry, but they've been showing over the last few weeks they can score goals.
Of course. I mean, Tony, I think bar one game, Tony scored in every game. He's come back, so I mean, you probably back him to score the way we play, but I think 12:30, the stadium won't be bouncing. Probably a good time to get it. They, as I said in the podcast, all in the comments, they leak goals for fun. Like I can't see us not scoring 2 or 3. And 2 or 3 have been enough to win it for me. So I'll go for 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Burnley, Arsenal.
Arsenal's away, aren't they? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I could. I mean, tight defense. I mean, Burnley might score a set piece against us, but I'll go for a comfortable 2-0 victory
for Arsenal.
I'm not Burnley. No.
Big game as well, 3:00. Some big games at 3:00 actually. I think all the main actions on Saturday this weekend. I know United play Sunday, but most of the big teams are in action on Saturday. Fulham against Aston Villa. I mean, Fulham is probably a tough game. As Liverpool found out in the League Cup, 2 tight games could have went either way. On their day, they can be a very, very difficult opposition, and they got a great one last week against Bournemouth, and Villa's confidence has been knocked. They aren't the strongest away from home. It's part of a nightmare game, this going to be Fulham.
I was just going to say, as you mentioned, I think I was a massive one against Bournemouth because I had backed Bournemouth. They won that game. I didn't think Fulham would win. I said 2-1 in the comments. I don't think Fulham's going to win it. So that's a big confidence boost.
Problem with Fulham is they're just very inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get. Some weeks they can score 3 or 4, and other weeks they don't score at all.
You know what? It's a type of game Villa could go and win, but I'm going to back a 2-1 Fulham just because I think the confidence is low for all the minutes. So.
Newcastle, Bournemouth. Newcastle starting to peel some of them points back, but a long way to go to really get themselves in the mix for Champions League, possibly in the mix for Europa League qualification and Conference League. And Bournemouth have had a bit of a brick wall. They had that great run between sort of December and the New Year, but come back to the field a wee bit. But Newcastle are conceding goals. Hey, this is a problem. Having to score 3 every week, they won games and conceded 4 in the last home game. They did it, and so Bournemouth will go there fancying their chances too.
I wish this game was live. I think this could be another 4-4 or something. Honestly, this is
entertaining. This one,
definitely. Hey, look, Newcastle, they had a Ryan Bruno. They won them the game last week. It was a big one way to end them, so I don't think they would win it. But I think they're I'll say good at home. They haven't been good at home the last few weeks. I don't know what I'm just gonna go something mad. 3-3. I'm just gonna go for a 3-3.
3-3. Another big game at 3:00. I mean, these 3:00 games are all massive in different ways. Forest, West Ham. Forest in that relegation battle, and West Ham have been on an awful run. Obviously, smashed 6 by Arsenal, and a lot of calls from the fans that they want Moyes out, despite sitting in a pretty good position in the league and in the last 16 of the Europa League. But the football, they're just not happy with. I mean, I know they were 3 down at home, but do you see that many fans leave the stadium before half time? I know 24, and some of them were only making their way out. I think people were making their way to 3 and a 4th goal done. But I mean, the stadium is empty in the second half. I mean, that is a bad sign, when the fans have really had enough. I mean, if he was to lose this game, would that be it for Moyes, do you think?
No, I don't think they'll pull the plug. I actually think it suits them being away because that toxicity is not there. It's not their ground. and it's just they can go play football. That's a really tough game to call there because Forest, they scored 2 goals last week. Unlucky, maybe they lose it, I don't know. But after 6-0, they'd be looking to bounce back. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham one.
2-1 West Ham. And the final 3 o'clock game, also a big game. Spurs take on Wolves. And again, Spurs have been strong at home, but they've been topsy-turvy games. I think they've won their last 5, maybe 6 at home. But all of them could have went either way, really. They were all tight, entertaining. I mean, you're guaranteed to say at least 3 or 4 goals in a Spurs game every week at the minute. Spurs, the only team in the league, they score in every single game as well. And hard to see how they won't score a game. But Wolves, 1 week they're beating Chelsea 4-2, and then they get turned over at home 2-0 by Brentford. There's a bit of a consistency problem. But they're a good watch. So again, I think this will be an entertaining game.
I wish this game was live too. Yeah, there's some good games here on Saturday, 3 o'clock. As I say every week, calling a Spurs game's like flipping a coin. I don't know if Emily does tune on sometimes. She only watches snippets, but if she's watching this, she's going to be thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have a great Saturday. It's all these good games on. Just because you're home, I'll back a 3-2 Spurs.
More entertaining. See, I'd settle for that, even though it sounds like it's not convincing, but these games are great to watch.
Wolves will definitely score, so it's just whether or not they go 2 or 3-1 up. I don't know, but I think at home he'll nick it. Just
no last minute goal.
Well, with Johnson, he needs an open net, so you never know.
He scored back-to-back home games, though. It's a bit of a trademark now, that coming at the back post. I don't know. Apparently, that's something they've been working on. He's not being actually overly effective, but he keeps scoring goals. That's the biggest way to impact games. And here, talking about big games, 5:30, Man City, Chelsea. What a Saturday of football that is. I mean, on paper, it looks like 2 big teams playing each other, but Chelsea couldn't be fair. We've seen them how difficult it was for them against Palace. They got the one in the end. But City at home, very strong. Still 2-1 up here in the last 5 minutes. Chelsea need to get some confidence ahead of them. If they get a thrashing, that's the last thing they need before the final.
Oh, big time. I mean, you can't see past City, obviously, but people, especially on Sky, they'll probably reference the 4-4 earlier on the season. I just can't see where. Well, I suppose City will come out. But I mean, I watched that Chelsea game last night. They were awful. I know second half they were a bit better, but Palace obviously massively under pressure with the club and everything. So you would expect them to win. But no, I mean, I'm going there as a Liverpool fan once again. We hope, but not much else. I mean, I could go a City when I turn it on. Maybe because they're playing tonight. Maybe they might have a bit of. I don't know. I'm a Liverpool hat on or my head. I don't know. I'll go for. I'll go for a 2-2.
You going for 2-2?
I'm gonna go for a 2-2 and just have my Liverpool hat
on. Moving on to Super Sunday. Probably not the best Super Sunday we'll see, but Sheffield United take on Brighton at 2 o'clock. That's the first live game. Sheffield, big one. They had to won that game against Luton to give themselves any chance. And Brighton, again, they were excellent against Spurs. They've probably played 2 of their best performances of the season against Spurs. That game could have went either way. Brighton must have massive chance. I think it was Fatty put one past the post a couple minutes before the end, and then Spurs scored. It was a very topsy-turvy game with Spurs. But like a boxing match, Callum. Both teams were going for it. It was one of the best games I've watched all season. Both teams went at it for 90 minutes. But this is maybe a game where it doesn't suit Brighton because Sheffield will park a bus and Brighton have to force them. And I've always think Brighton are better against teams where there's a bit more space. So all the signs point to Brighton won on form, but I'm not so sure. How do you see it?
Nah, Brighton are another topsy-turvy team. You don't know what they're going to win week on week. All in games this week are really hard to call. I think I could go either way. Brighton are a bit of a soft touch too. But if Sheffield score first, you wouldn't think Brighton was going to get back.
I think Sheffield will earmark this as a potential. We can get 3 points here. So
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Sheffield.
1-0 Sheffield. 4:30. You probably never thought you'd see this in the Premier League, but Luton's taking on Man United, and people probably think Luton have as much chance of beating them as United have beaten Luton. We know what Luton have done against the big teams this year. Not always got the results, but every game's been tight. and this is going to be difficult for United. Hard to call as well.
Big time, really hard weekend to call. Luton will be going on there thinking we've given all these top teams a game at home.
I think these games should see the fact everyone last week expected Luton they won. The pressure was on them, and they didn't really follow through. This is a bit more of a free swing.
100%. They'll be saying we give Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City all a decent game at home. And you just cannot rely on United away from home when, especially, it's going to be a tight pitch. They're going to go up for it to half 4. I mean, you just don't back United there in them situations. You haven't for a long time. So
I'm looking at this thinking this could be a very good weekend for Spurs. Beat Wolves. Villa, I think it'll be tough away at Fulham, and United's not a game they beat Luton.
Exactly, 100%. If I'm a Spurs fan, I'm saying the same thing. I'm just about going to back. I can't back a draw because United don't draw games. I'm going to go for a 2-1, Man United 1.
2-1 United 1. And finally, Monday Night Football, Everton against Weiball, against Hodgson Ball. It almost worked, as Roy says in his press conference. We almost got a draw. I think that's a problem with the Palace fans. They just hit that attitude. I mean, it's a funny game because Everton are a team that they maybe sit back and make it difficult, but I think being at home, it's going to force them. They maybe be a bit more proactive, and the fact that they need a result too. I suppose Palace only play one way. Don't matter who they're playing. They could be playing Derry City, and I think they would probably surrender possession. Probably not the most appealing game on the Monday night, but how do you see it going?
I have to back everyone here. I know.
I mean, do you think this is curtains if Roy's beat here by a relegation rival?
I think it could be, but it's who do you get then? I know he always mentions in every interview that he's injuries, which he does, fair enough. But I mean,
never heard a manager go on about it.
I know.
I mean, the funniest part last night was when he says, "I told all the players they get forward at 2-1, and I was hoping the ball would bounce for us."
I mean, if that's what you're coming out with, you're in dire straits. I mean, they need another wonder goal to get it last night to score a set piece. I think Monday Night Football said last night they've only scored one set piece all year. So, I mean, I just can't see them scoring a goal. I think Everton should win this year. I'm going to go for 2-0 Everton.
2-0 Everton. That is probably about us. Looking at them games, it's looking like it could be an exciting weekend.
It could be another bit the goal record again. You never know.
Callum, brilliant to have you on. I know we're getting on there with the issues, but it was good to get a podcast on. Keelan's going to be on Thursday night. Country star Keelan Brown, Liverpool fan. We're going to be looking ahead to the weekend's games more detail. Callum, fantastic again. If you're new around here, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and we'll see you on Thursday. Callum, top man.
Cheers. Thanks very much. See you soon.